Hey everybody, let me say good morning here from sunny Florida, Homosassa, Florida. This is Secondhand Dan coming to you from my homestead in the deep south. We're about halfway down the state of Florida, and right now I'm loving being here. Actually getting a little bit of a late start this morning. It is going on 11 o'clock. Here I am in the kitchen of my 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. And I've got a project. We're going to check out my Lexus. So let's go ahead and go outside and do that. Alrighty. Oh, this is technically the front door, but we treat the front door like a back door and the back door like a front door. Because when we roll in and park our car, we actually come in on the other side. But here she is, the green ghost, I like to call her. It's got a light green hue to the paint. This is 2008 Lexus RX350. That's an upgrade from my Lexus 330, which means 350 is a different motor than the 330. Otherwise, the cars look pretty much identical. The only thing I could ever find noticeably different was the grille on the two of them, and that's even subtle. But what I am going to do is there's a bonk noise. Whenever, especially when I hit the brake, there'll be a bonk. You can feel like up through the floor or the firewall. So that had me nervous as I drove this vehicle all the way down from Pittsburgh. It did not get any worse. It didn't get any better, but you know, it made me nervous. So I am going to look into this and see what the cause of the bonk noise is. Well, I've only been down here 2.5 days at my homestead, and so we're still getting situated. We just had somebody come in and mow our yard here. We have a half-acre yard, and it was pretty gnarly looking, and every time you'd walk through it, things would cling to your socks. It all looked like that field over there. But a guy spent a good couple of hours, and then he left and brought somebody back, and they spent another couple hours. So, but they got it all knocked down. We're pleased with it. So, but I'm still getting situated. You know, my shed over there where the tools are at, that's quite the mess. Everything is upside down, inside out. But I got to find some tools to get this suspension looked at on this Lexus. Well, first thing we're going to need is a floor jack. And I know I own one, if not two. But is it in this shed or is it in the shed over there? Well, we're going to find out. Like I say, it's been 6 months since I've been here. So where everything is, I'm not sure. You can see what I'm dealing with as far as stuff. Most of it's my responsibility. I really can't blame the wife on this one. So I'm the guy that loaded this up. But I do see the jack handle right there. So let's get this out. Oh, she's wedged in there, but here it comes. Try not to mess up the cord. All right, well, I'm going to grab the to-go handle there and cart it up to the car. I haven't verified it, but I think I might be the second owner on this car. Well, to say the least, though, it was well taken care of, because how often do you find the mag wheel key, lug nut key, still in the original bag with the paperwork? So it used to be back in the day that you had to worry seriously about people stealing your wheels. You know, find your car on concrete blocks and your wheels missing. But that doesn't seem to be an issue much anymore. I mean, I've never had my car jacked for the wheels. I guess today the thing is you got to watch your catalytic converter. You know, too bad they can't make a key to keep your catalytic converter on. Haven't had anybody steal my catalytic converter yet either, but that's a nightmare I hear, because they just saw them off, and then you got to replace not just the catalytic converter but all the piping with it. All right, well, now I need some ratchets and breaker bars and sockets. Like I said, I suspect the noise is coming from somewhere up here in the suspension area. So let me get the hand tools. Well, the issue with living 6 months up north and 6 months down south is you don't seem to have all the tools at both locations. I mean, now up north, I definitely have a heck of a lot more tools going on up there, and I've got a lot of tools down here, but nothing compared to what I have back at my homestead up in Pittsburgh. So I don't have, I guess, the larger sockets right now. I keep an eye out for them, especially when I'm at the auction, and there was a bunch of sockets I had meant to bid on, but they got away from me. Somebody else now owns them, but whatever. All right, well, I'm getting out the old tire iron. I'm not seeing it. Oh, is it under this thing? How's that for class? Lexus first aid kit. All right, what's inside there? Yeah, crutches, tourniquets. All right, well, the Lexus first aid kit contains band-aids, flexible fabric, ace bandage, triangular bandage, more band-aids. Wonder if they have anything for a headache. Not that I have one, but in an emergency, stopping a headache can make a world of difference in your issues. Well, all right, that's cute, but well, we can just throw that back in there, close these doors, pull this rug out. I think the tire iron's going to be in here. Yes, there is the tire iron. And here is a socket. Actually, this is not the socket. This is for lowering and raising your spare in the rear compartment. So I'm still going to have to find a socket. But right now, let's just go ahead and crack loose the lock nut. Let me put this tire socket, spare socket, back in there. All right. All right, well, that's fairly easy. Well, now I got to go find the right size socket to fit everything else. I hope I have it. Well, I'd already looked briefly, and I didn't see bigger sockets, so I'm just going to try and work with the tire iron and loosen up the other lug nuts. Back in Pittsburgh, I would actually have the impact gun on it. This thing looks like it's never been used. There's no chips on the paint from people dropping it. It's still painted on the inside. Like I said, it must have been, I guess they never had to service their vehicle themselves. I can't tell. Is that all the way on there? I don't want to. Yeah, it don't feel like it's going on very deep. Could be because all the paint's still on the inside of the tire iron. It's preventing it from sliding up onto the lug nut. And you don't want it halfway on because it will strip. There we go. That one's on. Took some wiggling and jiggling. Okay. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Make sure it's on there. And like I said, I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking for. Whether it'll make itself obvious once I get this vehicle jacked up and the wheel off. I will study all the suspension areas, where ball joint or tie rod, or even, I guess, a sway link. I'm hoping it's the sway link, because if you have to replace anything in suspension, that's probably the easiest thing to replace. Ouch! Hit myself in the shin. It's warming up already. I could use a little bit of shade. It's supposed to go to, I thought just under 80, but it feels like we're there already. This is a 2008 with like 114,000 miles on it. And it looks very nice underneath. I don't see any dents or drips or any rust. So this is going to be a good car for many years to come. So if you use the jack that came with the car, I guess you would set it, it would go up in what they call the pinch weld here. It's about the area where you would put the jack. It's probably like a little scissor jack, and you would crank it up with that tire iron. But I'm using a floor jack, and you gotta, you can get away with it if you don't mind denting this area a little bit, but with a floor jack. But I want to get the floor jack under what is the frame. So maybe just in front of that tie down loop, or just behind it. Well, I've elected to go just in front of that tie down loop. It looks rather stable. The biggest issue down here working in the car, on a car, is the sand. Everywhere in my area of Florida is sand. Even though it may look like a manicured lawn, it only runs about an inch deep, and underneath it is sand. And this sand gets into everything: your socks, your shoes, your clothes, your house, your cars, your carpets. No place is absolute paradise, but I'm glad I'm here right now. I'd rather be dealing with the sand than dealing with the cold and the gloomy skies back north. All right, well, let's get this wheel here airborne. I hear a little slippage of the jack, so I just want to check. Yeah, it's slipping a little too much, so I'm going to take it down and push it in another inch. Because if it's going to slip, you want it to slip more onto it than off of it. So let's try there. Sand, it's jack's digging ruts into the ground here. Makes it hard, even though it's a floor jack and you're supposed to be able to roll it around. It gets hung up in the sand. Okay, it's still centered in the frame. Still close. Wouldn't want to work under a vehicle with just a floor jack. And even, oh man, this is a less expensive floor jack, I'm sure. I think it's already topped out. Yep, it topped out. Ah, all right. So now I got to think what my next move is. I probably could just put the jack up under the suspension, the lower control arm, but if the lower control arm is the issue, then I've got to get the jack out from under it in order to change that. So maybe I'll just get some cribbage, something to block it up, and lower the jack, and then put cribbage under the jack so I can increase the height of the jack. I mean, ideally would be if you could get a jack stand under there, but the height isn't high enough for a jack stand. It would be nice if these manufacturers would come up with a squatty jack stand, but everybody's jack stands are usually about that tall, at least 12 inches. But if somebody could come up with one that worked between 8 to 12, that might be an item that sells, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that gets in this predicament. But let me go see what I can find to put underneath the frame. Oh, just one of those sand spurs on my shoulder. Now, I've got a jack stand here. Pretty thing, ain't it? I don't think it's ever been used. Probably a yard sale find. It looks like it'll fit under there, but the problem is once you get it under there and you lower the jack, it tends to push it down into the ground and you lose a lot of your height. So then you're looking for maybe a board for this to sit on so it doesn't get pushed so far down into the dirt. So that's where I'm at. But then when you find the board, hopefully you haven't lost the ability to get the whole thing under there. So I hope that still flies. Here's a board over here. All right, walk the plank. And not only that, the jack stand, it looks like it's going to be close to the middle of the vehicle, where I would have preferred it to cradle more towards the front. And yeah, just as I feared, right now the jack stand's hitting the frame, so it won't go under, and I can't get a small conundrum. Like I said, the jack stand's too tall. Nobody makes a squatty jack stand. All right, well, got to come up with something. This job has to be looked into, because God forbid, you know, that whatever's making that bonk bonk noise when you hit the brakes, I get it, you know, even sometimes without hitting the brakes, just going from forward to reverse. It could be even a motor mount or a transmission mount, but like I said, God forbid, something in the suspension, if it was to actually pop off and cause you to not be able to maintain control of the vehicle. Now, we had that happen with I think it was a 94 Dodge Caravan, and the wife was driving it. Actually, she was my fiance at that time, and she had my younger son in there, who was probably like 6, 7 years old at the time. And, you know, I heard a creaking noise for a couple of months and didn't think too much of it. But that creaking noise turned out to be a lower ball joint, and it actually popped out as she was making a turn onto our street. So that's the best place for that to happen, but God forbid, you know, that didn't happen on the highway. So I'm always leery now of any suspension noises. All right, well, I'm going with a new angle of attack. I'm going to use some ramps here, drive up on the ramps, and then put the floor jack under the suspension to lift the wheel off the ramp so I can take the wheel off. Now let's see if that doesn't work for me. These are some good ramps. I've seen the some versions, they're just the U shape, and they don't have the second foot or the bracing in there. So here again, these are yard sale finds or auction finds. Probably paid $10 for them. I know I've used them on my pickup truck already. Now, they will not work on my front of my Lexus CT. It's too low of a profile. The front end sticks up too far in front of the wheels. But all right, well, pulling the floor jack out and the jack stand out and the plank out, and see where we're at. Down, says me. Now on the older cars, or probably in some other types of vehicles that aren't front wheel drive, you would be able to put the floor jack just right under the center cross member under the engine compartment. But I don't have the luxury with this one. There's a lot of shielding up under there right now. So let's drive it up on the ramps and then see where we're at. Don't want to run over this ratchet. says it's 77 degrees. I got the hatch open, so it's beeping at me. All right, well, you can't see much of where you're at, but feel for it. Let's see, have I arrived? Pretty much. And the same issues occurring with the ramps that would occur with the jack stands. They like to push down in the sand. I need to get some gravel in this area from the gate all the way over to about here. So I don't know. This doesn't look like it's going to work very well either. Let me survey the situation. Well, after dealing with sand spurs and ants and scratchy dry grass crawling under here, I found something. I started by, grabbing different connections, axles and steering links, and then I was over here laying on my back looking up at the ball joint area. I'm like, why is there a hole there? Not one on the other side. So I get the impression my bonk noise must be a bolt that fell out. So that's kind of good news. It's definitely an easy fix. Just got to go buy the right size bolt and torque it on in there. So now I'm in the market for a bolt. So I guess I'll run down to the auto parts. I guess I should take off the bolt on the other side so as I can make sure I get an exact match. I suspect that to be maybe 15, 14 millimeters. So let's go see if I have the socket for that. Ah. Let me bite your butt. Oh. I don't know if it's good news, bad news, or middle of the road news. Climbing up under the Lexus. And after grabbing and shaking and studying and looking, I found there seems to be a bolt missing in the lower ball joint area. So when that fell out, I don't know. It's unusual for that to occur. So there's about a 75% probability that's the BONK noise. So now I gotta get a bolt to go in there.
What was it holding up? What was it working to? Because that's to me, I thought it was a bolt or
The ball joint, you know, where here's your wheel, and the wheel's attached at the top, and the wheel's attached at the bottom. And there's like 3 bolts on the bottom. Actually, it's 2 nuts and 1 bolt. And the top is attached by the coil spring stuff. But this bolt here fell out.
Well, where do you get the bolt from?
Hard. I mean, part of the auto parts. What did you do with my food?
On the bottom.
And it's let's see how my new video is doing. Oh man. One, two. Buckle my shoe. Ooh. Oh, 28 views. 14 hours ago. I haven't watched it myself yet. Back home to Pittsburgh. But the BONK. Hello, everybody. This is Secondhand Dan coming to you from Florida land. This type of shirt I'm wearing says Ohio State. This is when you find a great shirt at a yard sale, a sweatshirt, in great condition for $2. You buy it. I don't swear any allegiance to any one particular university, so that's why I have Ohio State on. I mean, that was some time ago I bought this, so it's looking a little bit weathered. But when I showed it, but when I bought it, it was probably like a good condition. But, I'm down here in Florida now. I'm here for 2 days, and I've got a lot of things to do. But first thing I need to do is I have a Lexus CT over here. Bought this car last year. Money was right on it. You know, I didn't pay a whole lot for it. It was like about $3,200. But if you don't know, a CT is a hybrid. It says it right down there on the bottom of the door. It's a hybrid. That's what I said. 3,200. It's gas. 42? I don't think so. By, electric motors with the large battery pack in the back. So, I mean, well, you get what you get when you roll the dice and buy something at an auction. It was running when we bought it. It was running good. There was no lights on the dash. After grab whatever was on top. 200 miles on it, a light came on the dash. So, not a good light either. Nice to have some saltines. The light that came on. Oh yeah, where's the pretzel bucket? Some people on the forums for on the fridge. Lexus CT on. Guess what? Or the Facebook group. It wasn't even actually a forum. Although I should look into a forum for this vehicle. It's called a diff triangle. It came on the dash. I don't remember because it's been 6 months since I last dealt with this issue. It's been parked here since I went back home to Pittsburgh. The bottom line is that the pretzel ball battery's dead. Close to being dead enough that it's causing an issue. And that's the big battery that's in the gray area. And here's the disconnect. I pulled that out. So I have intentions on changing this battery. Not at this very moment. Probably next time you see some of my video, I'm going to connect it all together. It might be days or a week or two before I actually get a battery. But right now, I'm working on the small battery, which sits down in there. Who would think that Laurel King and Lexus would ever go together? But this is a 12 volt. The Laurel King, they make stuff for farmers. As tractor batteries. This is what came with the car when I bought it. And actually kind of sort of doesn't go together. Somebody adapted it. It's been adapted because that goes on there, and you can see the wing nutted positive terminal onto this. So I think initially maybe the Lexus, whatever Toyota brand battery went in there was probably just 2 of these posts rather than this type of post. But I've charged this battery up. Chargers sitting over here, so it's had about 20 hours to get charged up. So with that battery running, hopefully this thing will start again. So let's find out. Let's do an install of the battery back in the compartment. Now here is evidently one of the original battery hold downs. Maybe it was a top poster with a Lexus conversion, because that's a post hole right there. But it's a small post, and that converts it over to a stud. You would think there had been two of these, but right now, I assume this is the negative side, but I can't use this right now because that battery from Royal King, it actually has the larger post. And unfortunately, I seem to, did I drop? No, I thought I dropped the nut. I'm not sitting on the tailgate. Okay. One side has a wing nut on it right now. Let me get the battery and ease it on down into there. Well, before I ease it on down into there, I may as well lightly sand these terminal connections. Just as good work practice when working with a battery. I've had people in the past say, "Oh, my car won't start. The start is bad." And I said, "Did you clean your battery terminals?" And I looked at them. They're fine. Clean the battery terminals, and they would clean what seemed like a good battery terminal, reconnect everything, and booyah, it would start up. So you can get a glaze over there. Sometimes it isn't obviously a bad connection. It's always good to freshen that connection up with a little bit of sandpaper. Now this battery turned 3 years old in October, and is now December. So 3 years, 2 months old. I know it's got some life in it, but most batteries do. It could be very little life, or excuse me, I'm emptying the junk out of my shoes. It could be very little, or it could be just enough, or more than enough. But it wasn't an issue last year, this particular battery. At least I don't think so. I don't think there was anything I could blame on this battery. I think it's just like, say, the big battery. So I went and looked for sandpaper, and after like 15 minutes, I said, I've been away for 6 months. So I was back there in the workshop looking for the sandpaper. The workshop looks like a bomb went off in it right now, because when you're leaving for 6 months, you chuck a lot of stuff in there, and plus there was stuff in there before I chucked a lot of stuff in there that I hadn't had a chance to sort through, some yard sale and estate sale buys. But I thought, oh, I found the sandpaper. I'm like, good, there's a sheet in there. I'm like, that's a piece of cardboard. So I gave up looking for the sandpaper after 15 minutes. I found a wire brush, so we're going to hit those terminals with the wire brush. I can see it's definitely brightening them up. If any of you are actually CT people, because I'm going to have CT, Lexus CT in the title here, so hopefully I find you some CT people. Give your thoughts, encouragements, or bewareos when you own a CT. When it was running, I mean, I was very happy with it, you know. But like I say, it didn't act funny, even though eventually the battery lights would come on the dash, and it would like warn you about, you know, not driving it much further. So I want to do right by it. I figure it's going to be $1,000 to do the big battery. Swapped out the battery. Did you go with a remanufactured? Did you find something that's like the equivalent of new, never been used replacement? Ah,
You know,
still recording. Well, I tried to Google what's the exact size. It was a little bit helpful, but it seemed like it was still a little bit sketchy as to exact. So with this socket and this breaker bar and a pipe slid over the end of the breaker bar, I was able to break free this one. So I can take that out and just match it up. I guess I can even test it, make sure it runs into the other ball joint. I saw somebody asked about left hand and right hand. I don't think there's any backwards threads on any of this stuff. I'm not sure why that ever fell out, but yeah, there we go. It threads in there. So it's identical. The threads are not boogered up. So if I can buy a replacement. I've seen people selling, quote, a ball joint bolt on eBay, and they're like, they say the bolt's $4, and then they want $20 to ship it. I mean, I understand that you want to make some money, but, you know, why don't you just charge $20 for the bolt and $3 for the shipping, if you think the bolt's worth that much? But I imagine I'm going to find it down at the hardware, the auto parts store, probably for like $5. So that's my mission now, is to get down to the hardware store and buy another one of these. Another reason that I wanted to get this one actually out to take it in and match it up is because some of them said 14 millimeter. Mine is a 15 millimeter head, so you hate going all the way down to the auto parts store and buying one or two bolts, and you bring them back, both of them, and you try them and neither one works, and it's going to be a lot easier because either it's going to match this or it ain't. You know, they'll have that, I know at the hardware store, they have the thread gauge on the wall. I bought one of those. I have it in Pittsburgh, where you can just thread something in to verify its thread gauge. I even have the machinist tool that you can, has the little teeth, and you lay it in the groove, and it'll tell you, if you match it up, it'll tell you what size thread those are. Now when you look at the head on this, it says 10.9. I guess if it was a 10.10, it would actually be an 11 then. That's pretty much how the metric system works. So we're on the hunt to match this up. Well, if installing the missing bolt on the driver's side makes the bonk noise go away, I think I'll celebrate by buying some headlights for this Lexus. So maybe in a video we can have an unboxing and installing. So off to the auto parts store I go. Well, after searching high and low, I was down at the AutoZone down there. They didn't have it. I was at the hardware store up the road. They didn't have it. I came to this place, and the fix is in. There's what I started with, and here's what I mashed it up with. Dorman. And there's 4 of them. Oh, I was also over at Tractor Supply. So the auto parts, the hardware, and Tractor Supply, and then back here to this auto parts place. And this is, I found this myself on their shelf. So I confirmed they have a thread tester next to it, and this will work in place of this. Now this was a, let's say a 15 millimeter head. These look like maybe 18 millimeter heads, which is well and good, because this one has the built-in flange around it, but with the bigger head on it, I don't think I really have to worry about that they don't have the flange on them. I got 4 of them for like $5. So what I'm going to do is just, I'll put one in the driver's side and the passenger side, just so as to keep them uniform. That way, if I or the next mechanic won't say, oh, why are there two different size bolts? So they'll both be the same size. All right, well, let's get this installed. Right now, the wife is over at Rich's Cheesesteak getting us a cheesesteak to go. I admit that generator is awfully noisy. I think they could run an entire circus off of that. Don't they know about how to buy one of those quiet ones? Richie Cheesesteak is just like mistake. It's just like a mistake. Okay. Famous Philadelphia cheesesteak from Spring Hill, Florida. This is going to be dinner. It's even noisy on this side of the vehicle. All right. Well, it's actually the morning after I purchased the bolts. It's only going up to like 65 degrees today. So I've got my sweatshirt on, and I don't know if the ants is too early for them or it's just too cold. The ants aren't doing their thing, which is a good thing because they like to bite me when they're awake. So replacing the missing bolt, missing one of these. So got the 4-pack here, and I'm going to put one on each side and just throw that in my bolt bin and the 2 backups in my bolt bin. And hopefully that'll take care of the bonk noise when I hit the brakes. Well, you can see the newer bolt is maybe about a 1/4 inch longer than the other bolt, but that's not an issue. There's probably more than an inch clearance on the other side. So you can see that the old bolt has the shoulder around it. The new bolt does not have the shoulder, but it's almost as big because it has a bigger head on it. I'm thinking that's maybe an 18. Well, let's go see if we can find the right socket for that. Whereas this one was a 15. But that was a 10.9. Just like this is an M12, so this would be an M12. That would be the 12 millimeter across it. And I believe the 125 is the thread pitch, so these threads are identical. And the 25 millimeter is, I believe, is the length here between my fingernails. But they don't say 10.9. Was the 10.9 was at the oh yeah, there it is, 10.9. So I guess that's the hardness of the bolts. If I'm wrong about that, go ahead and tell me. There we go. That's the right size right there. Okay. And the size is 3/4. Huh. Well, 3/4 it's going to be, although I know this is, in fact, is a metric, and it is a 19, and I don't have the 19 socket, but I'm almost getting as much play in the 19 wrench as I am in the 3/4 socket, so I can do most of the cranking with the 3/4 socket. If I need to add a little more torque, I can. It's gonna work. So let's take these up to the car and install. Sitting up on those ramps gives me lots of room. I know I wasn't having much success jacking it up from the side, but I say these ramps they're safe, even though they're tipped a little bit off on the end. All this stuff here is meant to work on, you know, concrete. Your floor jack and your ramps and your jack stands are all designed to work on concrete, but I have no concrete. It's sand everywhere. So it'd be nice if somebody made jack stands that actually had a base plate on it instead of just the 4 legs. And I guess a base plate on these ramps would help also. So maybe if I come across some metal, at least it's got to be at least a 1/4 inch thick, and maybe tack weld them on the bottom of those section from here to there. That would be good. So I got a lot of auctions. I see a lot of stuff like lumber and metal, you know, come up, but crawling underneath. Ants are still asleep. Or that. Okay. You can see this ball joint. There's a ball joint on the other side. It's held on with 2 studs and 1 bolt. Cheese hoagie that we bought, it was pretty tasty. A little bit on the hot pepper or spicy side. You know, the wife always customizes things when she orders. She was a little miffed that there was an upcharge for the onions and green peppers. You know, I understand. I thought that was the what his cheese steak just came with. You know, I thought you would have to say, hold the onions, green peppers. I don't want that. But you know, I'm not a steak, a cheesesteak aficionado. I just know it has cheese and it has steak and it's on a hoagie bun. All right, I left all the ratchets in the back of the car. Okay, breaker bars, ratchets. I mean, this job is basically part near done. All right, I have 2 1/2-inch drive ratchets. I don't have a 3/8 drive inch ratchet out here, so let me go grab a 3/8 back to the shed. All right, I realize you may have just viewed my video in the sideways angle. So I caught that this time because I went to turn up the brightness so I could see what my phone is on my phone screen. And I'm trying to swipe down and it wasn't swiping. And I had to swipe it sideways, which meant the phone was oriented the other direction. So powered the camera off and powered it back on in the sideways position. So living and learning. Okay, got the 3/8 drive ratchet with a bench top 3/4 inch socket. Even though it says bench top, I'm using it on the car bottom. Not Carvana, car bottom. Today, we gotta go to a dentist. The wife's got a toothache. I feel your pain. Okay, that's snug. Let's go ahead and run the other one in. Where's the other one? Am I laying on it? Is it in my pocket? There's still 2 in the container. You know, I think I left it in the shed when I was sizing up the for a socket, so we'll assume it's down there and just take one out of here and pair that one back together in that container when I get back to the shed. Okay. Oh wait, it's duh. It's already started in the ball joint, so it's here. Well, the first one I was able to run in a lot with just my fingers. This one is actually putting up a little bit of a drag going in. Nothing critical, but that's odd that it just fell out. I'm assuming it, it fell out. I mean, it's possible somebody changed the ball joint and neglected to put it back in, but okay, they look good. Let me use the breaker bar. I'll put some torque on them. That's what I'm talking about. Whoever the next guy is to change these ball joints, he's going to look at these bolts and figured they were the ones that came with the ball joint. You might think it was, unless he was a Lexus guy, and those were the original ball joint bolts. But these could pass for an aftermarket ball joint bolt. I say they 19 millimeter up from 15 millimeter head. Give me that broader surface area under the head. The other one had the shoulder to compensate. So, passenger side's all torqued. Finish torquing off the driver's side here. You gotta watch in this position, nothing slips off and you smack your knuckles. Okay, well, I'm going to put the cheater bar on and add just a couple more foot-pound torque on it. I'm not going to over-torque them, it's just that it's hard laying on your back. Making sure it's tight. There we go, tight. I almost never strip my bolts out, unless, somebody's been there couple times before me and bolts been in and out. There we go, tight. Well, this job is done. Well, now just to clean up. For a fistful of tools. Wait for the sequel for a few tools more. All right. Put all this away. All right, I've tightened up the lug nuts with the tire iron and the locking lug nut. So I'm gonna back it off the ramps and take it for a test drive and poke the brake pedal and see if the BONK is gone. Let's not stick the Ford key in. Let's stick the Lexus key in. Okay, put it in reverse before I release the brake. So we are already torqued in the proper direction. Releasing the brake. That darn flashing tire pressure thing, I think I've got a bad sensor because I've checked the pressures a couple times over. Okay, coming down off the ramps. Whee! Have to. Don't hear it now. Let's see. Do hear a lot of groaning and popping. We got this. Normal from sitting while trying to turn while not moving. Okay, out the gate. Down this lovely road that's, I believe it looks like crushed, broken up sandstone. Typical Florida middle income subdivision road. Because this is privately owned, so everybody that lives back here is responsible. This is where it gets really janky. It twists, it turns into sand and ruts. Hear that morning sickness. Sometimes when you first start out in your disc brake car and you haven't driven it for a day or two and it's been high humidity, the brakes almost sound like they're grinding. You get what I call like a morning sickness in the brake pad rotors. All right. I guess somebody should put their seatbelt on. I am definitely an advocate of wearing seatbelts. I've got a passenger. The fly on the wall. All right, straight ahead. I don't need a stop sign. I can do this right here. Booyah. All right, no noise. Give the brakes a little stab again. No noise. I believe I have fixed the mysterious bonk noise. Because that was concern. You know, like I said, I detected it 3 days before our road trip. And I tried to get them hold of the mechanic, and he wasn't available, and it was just too cold for me to do some mechanicking. So I figured it would get worse before it'd be an actual hindrance. And if it got worse on the way, I would diagnose it on the road, and if I had to, buy tools and the part and fix it on the road. But I made it all the way down to my homestead in Florida. But I'm feeling a lot better now. The bonk is gone. Okay, well, I think we can return to home base. And we'll be taking this car on our little road trip to the dentist, which is about 25 miles. Testing, testing. I'm detecting maybe a slighter bonk. Could be something else. But, you know, you get overly sensitive when you're a mechanic, when you're worried about problems. Jogger ahead. I don't believe he's a real jogger. I just think he's a traveler on foot. All right, well, thanks for hanging with me.